Hello everyone watching, my name is James Cosgrove, and on this video I'm going to talk about the course that I study and also give a brief overview of the key areas of importance when it comes to sports and exercise science. So first of all, you're probably watching this either in bed or on a couch at home. I mean, in the current climate that's all you can really do at the moment. But if you have been in deep thought about your future career and what you might want to do, say you've got a really big passion for sport but you don't know sort of what pathway you want to go down, then hopefully these videos might give you an insight in thinking maybe, oh, this course does sound good and this one might be for me. So I'll go through the overall purpose of the course, and that is to help improve athletes or the general public in different ways and strands. So for instance, nutrition, you can help an athlete out in that way. What they consume, how does that impact their performance? And also psychology. For instance, that is a topic of big concern at the moment with the current COVID situation. A lot of talk on mental health and well-being. So different areas that we can work on can help them, but also from an athlete's point of view, how do they handle pressure and anxiety, and how can we help athletes in that way to get the best out of them in sport? So if that is making you interested, before I go into too much detail, I'll talk quickly about myself. Don't worry, this won't take too long, but at the moment I'm currently a second year student studying at Leeds Beckett University with sports and exercise science. However, the course at Durham Valley College Sports Science, there's a lot of overlap and a lot of the information that you're taught is very similar. So hopefully with me giving a brief overview on these videos, this is the first one of 4 on the different key areas. Hopefully this will give you an insight of whether this course is right for you. So to begin with, I'll go through the introduction to sports and exercise science and more over how the lessons are taught. So to begin with, you will have lectures, you'll also have seminars and workshops during your timetabled week. So to begin with, lectures are where you'll get the main bulk of information. So you'll all be in a great lecture hall, which I personally love. You'll have a tutor at the front giving you all the content, and that is, like I say, where you'll get the majority of the information given to you. You'll also have seminars, so this is your more traditional classroom environment. You'll have probably a max of 20 pupils in there with you, and that is where you'll add on to the information given during the lectures, but also, as you can see on the screen, this is a perfect example of a seminar. You'll be doing some lab work as well and some experiments. So there you see a person running on a treadmill with an oxygen mask, and hopefully you might already know that that is to analyse the oxygen uptake and also the carbon dioxide exertion. And then you can then analyse whether that person is healthy and fit and see what you can do from there. So that's your seminars, so you will be doing some lab work, and also with workshops, that is more from the first year that I can remember, was more helping with these lab skills. So it was for me that I had no clue how to do any of the experiments, and I'm sure that might be the same for a few of you. So they go over different techniques and how to better perform these experiments as well. So breaking down the sports and exercise science course, you've got 4 key topics that you'll be studying during your time, and these consist of nutrition, which I'll go into a bit more detail on in this video. So looking at the consumption of different foods and how that impacts performance on athletes. You've also got physiology, so that looks at the muscles and also the vital organs and how they can be improved and how that impacts performance as well. You've also got psychology, so like I was saying earlier, you look at mental health and well-being, but also the pressures that sport bring and the anxiety and how that can be maintained, to then obviously the overall goal for all of these is to improve performance. And then last of all, you've got biomechanics, which looks more at the physics of the sport and also the bones of the body and see how that can be improved. Different techniques can be seen in that as well for overall performance benefits. So now moving on to the main topic of this video, and that is of course nutrition. As it says eat right, and everything that circulates around this topic is about what athletes consume and people in the general public as well, and how that affects their body and say performance in that certain area, all down to nutrition. Nutrition can be split into three different areas. You've got health, development, and performance. So if we start with health, you've got both the physiological side and the psychological side as well. In concerns with physiological, you've got different macronutrients that have different effects on the body, micronutrients that have different effects on the body as well, and also illnesses that can occur. So stuff, especially with respiratory and gut illness, that can occur from poor nutrition, for instance. In relation to the psychological side of things, yes, eating and nutrition in general has an effect on their mental well-being and health as well. As well as, for instance, say eating disorders can occur all due to their mental health. So both psychology and nutrition do play a part in each other. In consideration to development, so you've got adaptations to training. So say if a performer wants to be more aerobic, have a better aerobic endurance, then they may consume more carbohydrates, for instance, as they have more glycogen stores to then be utilized during an aerobic exercise activity. And in addition, with development, you've got the recovery side of things. So for instance, I'm sure if anybody's exercised, you always think, oh, I need to eat protein to then recover the muscles that I've lost. That plays a part there. And also for injuries as well. Injuries can be benefited through a certain type of nutrition if looked at properly. Last but not least, you've got performance. So things such as different supplements, for instance. So I'm sure you guys might have heard of anabolic steroids. That helps growth muscles even more, but obviously has its side effects as well. And things such as hydration as well. So not just food that you intake, it's also looking at fluids as well. And you need to have an adequate amount of fluid to be optimal when performing. So the first major topic that you will begin to look at while studying nutrition is energy. Energy plays a massive part in nutrition. And start off where you've got energy balance. So if you can see in the top right image, you've got a little weighing scale. You've got weight gain and weight loss, and this plays a massive part. So for instance, say you've got a higher weight gain than weight loss. You're basically consuming more than you are exerting calories, then you are going to gain weight. And obviously this has a big impact on performance. So energy plays a massive part. You've got your total energy expenditure, which is how much calories you burn, and this is split into different areas. So you've got, say, basal metabolic rate, which is overall the energy required for normal bodily functions to occur. You've got the thermic effect of food, so how much energy is required to digest the actual food that you intake, as well as the absorption and metabolization of that food as well. You've also got your physical activity energy expenditure as well. So say if any of you play any sport, you obviously know that you burn a lot of calories through that way as well. You've also got a bit of chemistry in this subject, but don't worry, it's nothing like I used to hate electrolysis back in the day. But this is more on the cell structure of the foods that you will intake. You've got, say, bases and acids and stuff like that, and how all those different things and different chemical structures affect performance in sport, and they all have the different impacts. They all vary slightly. You've also looked at the metabolism, as you can see in the top left image. So this is just how you break down food and what is then used. So say if you break down carbohydrates, you get your glycogen. If you break down your proteins, you get your amino acids, and then you'll understand what they are used for and how. And also you've got your diet methods. So what are the ways of tracking, say, if you were to implement a diet plan on an athlete, what would you go with? Would you go for, say, a food diary, or would you go with food frequency questionnaires to make sure that they're maintaining that diet? And the next set of content that you'll be looking at during nutrition is macronutrients. So these consist of, you may already know, but carbohydrates, proteins, and fats. And for all of these three different macronutrients. We're looking at the structure, so the chemical structure, like I was saying beforehand, how are they made, also the breakdown, so the metabolism of each macronutrient, and what then happens to, say, like I was saying, carbohydrates, glycogen, break down in the aerobic energy system to the Krebs cycle to then form energy, which is ATP. And you'll just look into different stuff like that. You'll also look how each macronutrient is transported, the functions of each macronutrient as well. So like I was saying, with protein earlier on, it's there for growth and repair, but it also has other roles as well. Carbohydrates mainly there for as energy, as a fuel production source. And also you look into more in-depth stuff. So if I say, I don't want to go into too much now, but carbohydrates, so the process of glucose homeostasis, and you'll also look at the glycemic index and stuff like that. With proteins, look at transamination and the metabolization of amino acids. So it gets really technical, but it's really good. You go into good detail, and then you should know what to do to help athletes, say, promoting a higher consumption of carbohydrates if they're a marathon runner, or maybe indicating that they need to intake more protein if they're, say, a weightlifter. And now coming on to the remainder of the content that you'll be learning in the first year of nutrition, we'll take a look at the digestive system and fluids. So start off with the digestive system, obviously looks at the breakdown of foods, as well as the absorption and what organs that takes place in, as well as what nutritions aid, say, the functions of the digestive system. So, for instance, off the top of my head, fibre, I know, helps aid digestive system. It helps keep the lining of the gut healthy, and it also reduces the amount of time it takes to digest foods. And moving on to fluids are very important. You need to stay hydrated to perform. You need electrolyte balance to be perfect. There are different effects if you don't drink enough fluids. For instance, you get dehydration. It also can lead to diseases such as kidney stones, whilst on the other hand, too much hydration can also be very dangerous as well. So looking at the balancing that can help improve an athlete's performance, and also the general public as well. So now to finish on, it's everyone's favourite part of education. It's the assessments. You've got the, for the first year of nutrition, what you have is a multiple choice exam and also a scientific report to write up. So in consideration to the multiple choice exam, you have, it's exactly like the image shown there. You have 5 different answers, and obviously you circle which one you believe is correct. It's around 100 questions. There's quite a lot, but obviously it's just a circling. There's no writing there, so that should be standard. You might be used to that, but scientific reports may be a little more unfamiliar. And this is where, say, you come up with a question, maybe that you're curious about, or you're wanting to find out more information to, and then you write up a report on that. So, for example, maybe say carbohydrate gels before a marathon run, how does that impact performance compared to those athletes that did not consume the carbohydrate gel? And then what you do is you'd find out information maybe from other journal articles whilst reference them. You might be able to do your own studies on that as well with your own methods. Then what you do, you write down your method, you write down your introduction, obviously beforehand, why, and what you're looking for, the hypothesis. You write down your results, so what you found out, and then your conclusion, how did it link back to your hypothesis. We've also, like I say, from referencing, which is a big part, which is a big thing to get used to compared to high school and college, because knowing me, I don't know about you, but I barely did any referencing. But throughout this, you'll get used to it, referencing other journal articles to then back up as evidence to the results that you may find. So to round it all up for nutrition, going just back over the subject, so you've got a topic in energy, so looking at ATP being the main energy source, energy balance, things like that. You've got your micronutrients, as it says there. You've got your carbohydrates, fats, and proteins. How they each individually have a different effect on the body and different functions. And then there you've got your digestive system and your fluid, which you do need to maintain and take care of. And then obviously we finished there on the assessment. So I hope you enjoyed the first video. There's going to be another 3 that are up, each on the other different aspects of sports and exercise science course. So one on biomechanics, one on physiology, and one on psychology. And obviously you can watch them all if you're interested, or maybe just watch one that you are the most keen about, just to gain a little more information. Thank you for listening, and I hope you have a nice day.